Good morning. We're here on shop tour number 4. We are joined this week by Shop Manager Greg Haywood, and we are getting ready to light the fire for the very first time this season. You may have seen on our Facebook page, we fired the locomotive up and ran it down the hill. Here's how it all got started. So here's Greg.
All right, good morning. We already have water in the boiler to the proper height that we want, which we'll show you in a bit. But we have 3 connections here we need to make. The number one is we need a draft. We need air to come into the firebox and mix with the propane properly and get a draft going through the tubes and out through the stack. So we use an air compressor line, which we hook up into an exterior valve here, which will run into the cab. And we have a line here that we have to open that valve. And that is open here, but we also have to open some valves in the cab. So now we're going to move forward to the 2 propane hookups that we have here. And our first one is our larger line. This is, we are going to hook this in to what would normally be our atomizer line here. And this is a gas line. So there again, it goes opposite of a normal pipe fitting. And we've got a steam valve hookup here for that. We're going to go with a large connection here for our propane line. There again, it looks like I'm loosening it, but this is propane line, so they're opposite. Make sure that's tight. This line is closed, this line is closed, so we have 2 valves to control this. The next is going to be our burner. And this is also propane, but it's what's going to light off the larger gas line once we get everything turned on. Make sure that's closed. This is a igniter, which is used for a torch. We're just going to lay that down. So then we're going to move forward. Since we're on the ground, we like to do everything on the ground possible first. And this is going to be the first fire up, so we won't have to worry about the belly plugs and the firebox or the smoke box bottom having water in it. So we're going to close both of our drains down here that normally drain water. These get opened up at the end of the day and occasionally when you're running. So we're going to close those. We're also going to go up here and remove the stack cover so that we don't knock it off with the air compressor when we start getting a draft through it. So go up here, put this off, and then we're going to move up to the cab and we'll show you what we got to do in there before we turn anything on. Here's our air compressor. We have a valve here to control the air over to there, so somebody can shut this off here too. But this is our source for our draft or air, like the blower would have on it.
Greg, you want to comment real quickly on why you're using propane? Because this is an oil burning locomotive.
Yeah, you gotta warm the water up in the boiler very slowly. And this is an oil burner, it's not a wood burner, so we're not building a fire down in the box. And it's not a coal burner, so we're not going to start off coal in here. So we're going to use propane to slowly warm the firebox, the brick, the walls, the water, and very slowly, because expansion and contraction are what kills a boiler. The expansion and contraction is where you get all of your problems at. So we want to warm everything up gradually. And here normally it takes 2.5 to 3 hours to get a pound of steam, or even get the gauge to come off to 1 pound. Because we don't want to shock these things and cause damage before we even are able to run yet. So we're going to bring this thing up really slow. It depends on the air temperature outside. If it's a cold morning, it might take you 3 hours. A day like today, we may get some steam out of this within 2 hours, depending what it is. But we use propane to get the steam pressure up. Once we get to about 15 pounds, we're going to cut the air off, we're going to cut the propane off, and we're going to switch it over to steam, because once you get up to about 16 pounds, that's enough pressure to blow the oil from the tender into the firebox. It atomizes it out. So we're going to light that oil off. We also have enough steam pressure to get a blower and get our air circulation going. So if we've done everything right, 15, 20 pounds, we can swap it over. Once the oil lights off and she's on her own, we just let it build after that. So it'll be a gradual build. So we'll go in here now and
Excellent.
show you the water glasses and where we're at. Of course, I disconnected the light, but all right. Well, I got a flashlight here so I can show you. Engineer's side's got water in the glass. This was done prior yesterday, so we have water on the engineer's side. We have water in the fireman's side, and the reason that we don't run the water very high is this water is going to expand a little bit and raise in that glass, and the more water you have in here, the longer it's going to take to get steam pressure. So as long as we got water in the glass and it's going to expand a little bit and go up, we're going to end up closer to a half a glass of water by the time this thing's ready to switch over. So you don't want to get a whole lot of water in there. You're going to spend all day warming the water, the volume of water up. We're up over the crown sheet, above the lower part of the glass here. Of course, you can see the gauges on 0, and everything in here right now is closed. All the valves are closed. But I'll double check the manifold, the blower, and the atomizer. Those are closed. Oil valve is off. The dampener to allow air into the firebox is closed right now. We don't need a large volume. I might open that up a little bit after I put a fire in it. Every time we put a fire in the engine, we go in and do an inspection of the firebox. We check the walls. We check the bricks. This has just been repaired last fall, so I've already been in there several times, but we want to look again one more time. We've had the soft plug replaced at the front of the crown sheet. That gets replaced every year here. I don't know if you can see it up in there, Scott. That brass. There's a soft brass plug up there in the top of the crown sheet. And if the water level drops to a certain point, the center of that in theory melts out and puts the fire out. But you don't want to test that. So anyway, I'm down to the tube sheet. The tube sheet looks good. The bricks look good. The firebox floor looks good. Burner's clean and open, so we're going to leave the door cracked a little bit here just so we get some air circulation in there. We have a redundancy here. We have another valve inside the cab that comes up from the floor where I hooked up the air. This one here is now open, and I can turn this blower valve on and it'll start drafting air into the firebox and out through the tubes. But first I'm going to go down and crank the air compressor on first before I do this, and I'll come back in here. So if you want to hold tight, I'll go do that real quick, Scott.
Stay here really quick while he goes and does that.
Yeah, he went to get some pictures maybe of the cab. All right, the air is on. I'm going to turn the propane on over here in the window. And I'll be right back over.
So air's coming on, propane's coming on.
All right, propane is on. So I'm going to come on up there, Scott, and I'm going to get the blower going. You'll be able to hear that. Okay. Just crack it a little bit. You can hear. Now I only want enough air going in there to get the big line going, get a good roll on the fire. I'll go down here and light this off if you want to watch me do that too.
Yeah, we'll watch you from the cab here.
Yeah, you can get back and give you that if you want to. Maybe you can, if you need some light. All right. This is our smaller line or burner line. I'm going to go ahead and strike a fire in this. There we go. I'm going to place that in the opening of the burner, which you can probably see from the cab now. I'm going to open that up. valve coming from the wall over there. I'm going to open that up. And then if you want to film the firebox, as I crack this open, you'll see the propane open up in there. Ready?
We're ready.
Okay, opening up the big valve. Now we've got 2 lines of fuel going in there. And what you want is not only a good roll off the back of your bricks, you want it to head forward. You don't want a lot of heat coming out this door, which there is now. So that means I'm going to turn this blower up a little more. And I'm also going to open the dampener. You can see the flame. You want to stay with that orange flame. If it's a blue flame, you don't have enough air. So I can do this again by putting my face forward. And turn it on a little bit more. Okay. That feels pretty good. I don't have a huge amount of heat coming out of that door. You want it to roll forward towards the tube so it's heating all the way to the front of the boiler and evenly on the sides. So we've got a good flame going there. You got propane coming out where the atomizer is. That's normally where the oil goes. The oil is shut off. So we're going to leave this alone, keep an eye on it, and we're going to keep the door closed just partially here, because if you have too much heat coming out of this door, it will tend to make the water boil in the water glasses. So you want to make sure, if your water's boiling in your water glasses, then you've got too much heat coming out in the cab. You want it going forward because it's not doing any good. So this is probably, I will check on this periodically, but this is where you just leave it for right now. And you come back and take a look at it. Make sure, you might get some condensation in there, some water coming back out of the tubes or off the walls, because you got cold water in a cold boiler. So we're trying to warm it up slowly. We don't want to shock this thing and cause damage on a boiler like that. So it's critical that your fire up, just take your time, get it done right. Once it's warmed up, half the battle's over. You know, even if it doesn't have any steam pressure on it, you can put a fire and it'll come up to steam pressure pretty fast. But that's basically what we do every single day if we have no steam pressure on it, or if we're starting from a cold start. You can figure 3 hours to get a pound of steam on a locomotive. Some others might get it faster. This is the way I was taught how to do it here, and we've had no boiler damage from firing up here in over 40 years. So I stick with that same program.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Greg.
Yes.
We appreciate it.